What's going on, everyone? My name's Arora, and I'm a realtor based out of the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Today, I am joined by Nick Merill. Nick, say what's up to the crowd.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Nick Merill. I run alpsbookkeeping.com. Small business bookkeeping and also taxes for individuals. We really run the gambit when it comes to accounting. We pretty much do everything from advice, all the way to finishing your tax return. So, need any help? You know where to look. But yeah, so we just wanted to get started, just talking about how we started our businesses. Yeah. So Ash, you're a realtor.
Yes.
What made you want to get into that?
Oof, yeah. So it's actually a little bit of a story. I wasn't born in America. I was born in India, and from India moved to Dubai for a few years before Dubai is what it is now. I didn't know that.
I didn't know you lived in Dubai.
Yeah, man.
Was that when it was really as crazy built up as it is now, or was it?
No, this was like sand dunes, water, just everything natural.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, this is before the oil money came into play.
Dubai now, I just think of that Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, stuff like that.
That wasn't even there at the time. It was Burj Al Arab that was the tallest building at the time. But yeah, it was still developing. But I lived there for a few years, and from there, my parents they helped us move over to the States back in 2003, where we were still moving around Virginia. So. Fair to say, I had quite a bit of open house experiences without, ever running one. Everything from just walking around homes to checking out what my parents were looking for. It was one of those things where moving and finding a home was always part of my life. So when I had my quarter life crisis of corporate's great and all, but I want to find, my passion, but also something I can stay disciplined with, real estate made the most sense because, again, I'd always moved around, and it was something that I could do to help people because everyone needs a home, right?
Yeah, and the 9 to 5 probably wasn't quite doing it for you.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's helpful. Obviously it pays the bills, but beyond that, I think there's a lot you can learn being in corporate, just from how to manage relationships, to getting work done, and really convincing yourself to do the stuff that even if you don't want to do it, you have to do it. Because I'm sure you know this.
Just that discipline.
Yeah, because there's the fun stuff of the business, right? But then there's also the admin stuff that you have to do.
There's a lot of the admin stuff.
Yeah, so it'll get you into that.
And that's kind of what I try to help a lot of my clients with too, is the admin side of things, because I'm sure when you first started your business, you realize how much you have to do to even step your foot in the door of doing this correctly.
Yeah.
Forming your LLC, coming up with your business formation documents. How do you fund your business? Do you need a loan for your business? All that type of stuff, you kind of have to think about. That's kind of where I try to help guide a lot of my clients.
Yeah. So, all right, let's switch gears and we'll keep bouncing, but I'm curious. Tell us about, for those who don't know, right? Tell us about your business, and you gave a little intro as to what you do, but how did you get into it? What's your professional background that got you into this business?
Yeah, so I started out as a public accountant, got my CPA, and I was working for a CPA firm, doing all the crazy long hours, the 50, 60, 70-hour weeks during
your
tax
busy seasons and all.
Busy season, and doing that, you really see kind of the inner workings of the business. I saw what my company was billing out my rate as. They were billing me out at $125 an hour. And actually, funny story, in the middle of tax season, my manager, she just said something. She said, I'm sorry to all of you who are making just above minimum wage right now. I know that sucks. It never occurred to me, what my hourly rate was at that point, because I was on salary. It's I was making a decent salary, but when you factor in you're doing 70 hours a week of work, your salary is almost cut in half. Yeah. And I did the math, and it turns out I was making $20 an hour at that point. And they were billing out my time at $125 an hour. So, that's
stark
simple
difference.
Math. That's pretty simple math.
Yeah.
And, I kind of realized, look, I went to school, I did all this stuff, I got my CPA, it cost me a lot of money, it cost me a lot of time. And I could get a job at Best Buy for $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Why am I even
Hell, I think
bothering.
McDonald's and Starbucks raise their minimum wage
Right?
too.
Like I could have avoided all this stuff. I could have
Yeah.
just got a job at McDonald's and been making the same amount. Granted, I was, just breaking into the industry. It was my second year there. But just seeing that, the difference in what our clients are being billed versus, me who's doing the work, like what I'm getting paid, I was like, man, I'm doing the work anyway. I could even cut that rate in half and still make more and be a cost to the client like that's less, so it's better for them. And so that's kind of where I got started into the industry. I was like, this is kind of what I like to do, specifically bookkeeping and business taxes and working with small business owners. And so I just decided step my foot in the water and just go for it.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. You have to take the leap, right? As a business owner, you're always going to deal with uncertainty, and you can kind of think of all of what could go wrong or all that you have to do, but then thought paralysis kicks in and you don't get anything done.
Yeah.
So at that point, you might as well just take the leap of faith, right? So how long have you been in your business now? And tell us about some of the work you're doing with clients. Obviously, I'm one of them, so...
Yeah, full transparency, Ash is one of my clients. He was actually one of my first clients when I broke into the business. So the work I do now, it's a lot of monthly bookkeeping. So I have clients that, everything from contractors to, trucking businesses to real estate, it really runs across the board. All these clients, they have their financial information when it gets into QuickBooks or whatever accounting software they use, but they don't know how to filter it. So that's where I step in. I do the bookkeeping. I tell them the important stats of like how much money they're making, where they're spending their money, things like that. And then come quarterly, we do estimated tax payments.
Yeah.
So that's really where the work steps in. Is we, the government requires everyone to pay estimated tax payments if you're self-employed. So that's where I help my clients come in and figure out their taxes and figure out what they owe and try to get them the best deductions possible.
Yeah.
And also just when they're starting their businesses, giving them the best advice I can to really, figure out what direction they want to take, and maybe some of the speed bumps they can avoid along the way. Me having already seen many businesses, start up.
Yeah.
I just try to give the best advice I can.
Yeah, and personal testimony, it's been helpful. For those also who don't know the context, if you are a business owner, and keep me honest here, I think it's if you're on a W-9, so long as you're not on a W-2, you have to pay taxes quarterly. At least in real estate, you have your end of year filing, but every quarter you have to go through that same tax motion. So that bookkeeping isn't just like a one-time annual, it's every quarter. I have to send my statements, everything to Nick. Nick does the number crunching and it just tells me like, you need to pay or you don't need to pay this quarter. And that's been helpful because as you know, the work you have to do as running a business isn't just what's in the job description. It's all the stuff leading into it. It's everything from lead generation to bring in more clients, to the actual admin stuff to operate your business and keep the lights on, to doing the work itself and being the expert in it, right? So you're covering all the different facets there.
Yeah, I'm sure being a realtor, actually signing the documents, the easy part.
Yeah.
Getting there, that's the hard
man.
part. The amount of stuff, the amount of effort you have to put into, even get to the table. That's where all the real work comes to play, and that's where the expertise comes in too. Yeah,
totally. I think one thing I'm curious to know, and I'll say my piece is, the hardest part of the business. So I'm just gonna go first because I'm on my tangent and coffee's kicking in. So I'd say the hardest part is really the lead generation. You can learn so much about the real estate industry, and I love learning about that because it's just something fascinating. It's been around for so long, and there's a lot of strategies and a lot of subdomains within the real estate industry. But the hardest part is really just the lead generation, because they say if you can build a business where you get consistent leads and convert them to sales, then you have something that's operating. Like you can create a new product, and it can be the best, most unique and innovative product. But if you don't know how to market it, no one's going to use it.
Yeah. 100%. You know, if no one even knows your product exists, how are you gonna get it out there? Who's gonna buy it? Right?
Yeah. And with realtors, there's a lot of us in the area, so it goes back to, one, what value are you providing, and how are you communicating that value to people?
So what would you say, what differentiates you from, you know, some of your competition in the area?
Yeah, I would say work ethic. And there's this preconceived notion that realtors are lazy, and this is not to throw shade on any realtor, but there's some who come into this business part-time, right? They want to just close a couple deals, live off that commission, and they're rocking and rolling. But I think the hunger plays a big part, because I have a desire in making this like my lifestyle business in perpetuity. So the drive and willingness to just keep on going is the why. Now, as for the additional factors beyond just the drive, I have a background in consulting and tech and sales. So I know what it looks like when a process works and how it should work, and how I'm constantly looking to optimize it. I don't think any client is the same, because your situation may be different than the next person, right? And I'm not just talking budgets, but it comes down to preferences, how you prefer the communication style, and how are you taking that personality that I learned from you and assessing your risk tolerance and bringing it to the negotiation table. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really understanding that each person's unique is really how I thrive with the clients I've worked with. Whereas, you'll see other people who are just take one very generic standardized system and try to apply it for everyone when it's not the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. And building on that, some of your local market expertise, I would say, I feel like you have a really good grasp on our local market here in Northern Virginia.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What do you think the market's looking like right now in Northern Virginia?
It's overall similar to the rest of the country. It's tracking where it is slower, right? But there's a benefit of being in the backyard of our nation's capital, because there's a lot of government workers, there's a lot of stable jobs here within consulting, accounting, that there's always going to be some job opportunity. I think we're very blessed to be in this kind of market, and that level of stability, I think it keeps the real estate market moving. There's always going to be transactions. There's always going to be some home available, whether for buying or selling, or if it's just for renting, right? And rental market here is hot too. There's always going to be homes available. So even though largely the market is slower, there's still movement happening, and there's people who have the funds ready to go, just waiting for that right moment or the right home to go in on.
Yeah, personally, I think there's going to be a huge influx of new buyers here in the next, probably next 2 to 5 years, something. As interest rates decline and as people's savings grow, there's definitely going to be a lot more demand coming up. Yeah. So, kind of a different question I have for you: how familiar were you with taxes and just business, administrative business work before you started? How familiar were you with just running a business before you actually started? Running
a business, had some experience just taking part in startups, or just from the corporate experience I've had working with smaller businesses. I think that at least helped me understand that you need a plan, and that you need to be flexible and get ready to wear multiple hats.
So, do you have a business plan?
I do have a business plan, yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
And I follow it pretty religiously, actually, because it's awesome. A good guardrail to know how I'm tracking. The important thing is not getting too emotionally attached to it. If I don't hit certain metrics, I could take it personally, but I can also pivot it and understand how I am tracking my own performance, because you're your own boss, right?
Yeah.
So no one's going to slap your wrists or fire you, which honestly a pro of having your own business.
Yeah.
But you have expenses to pay for, and if you're not going to perform, and you're going to let your costs take over your profits, then you're not succeeding as a business either. So it's important to have the plan. Now, from a tax perspective, I hope none of my accounting professors are listening to this. But yeah, no, I didn't know too much. Like, I know the different like financial statements. I could create it if I want to, but I just don't have time for that, as bad as it sounds.
I mean, the same way when I go to buy a house, I get a realtor. When you go to, file your taxes, you come to an accountant.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's what we're both here for, is just to help each other out. And
yeah, that's the beauty of like also supporting small businesses. Like you find someone that's, especially within your network, who complements something that you're doing, that you could just, one, help each other's businesses grow, but also just have that strong partnership where referrals are a big piece for both of our businesses, right? So I think that really plays a strong element into what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Referrals are always big, especially for small businesses. So if you know anyone that needs either an accountant or a realtor, feel free to send them our way. Feel free to refer them to us.
Yeah.
We could even give you a discount, I guess. I don't know how it works for your business, but I could. So,
terms and conditions may apply.
May apply.
Have to call that. None of us are lawyers, so we have to make sure we make this disclaimer.
No lawyers are watching, so
hopefully. Who knows?
So, do you have any advice you'd give for a first-time business owner?
Yeah. I would say know what your passion is, but know that passion itself isn't going to fuel the business alone. It also takes discipline. And just to elaborate on that is, I've been in this business now for 2 years, and in the 2 years, I've had to do a lot of self-reflecting. And I mean, everything from when people say a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this, it's true, right? Because you go through a lot of different motions of, am I on the right path? There's nothing else to measure against other than me being comfortable with it. So it takes a lot of, self-actualization, I guess would be the term for this.
Self-motivation too.
Yeah, just to realize like what you're doing is enough, but also having the boundaries of, okay, now I need to separate like my business from like my personal life, because a lot of times it ties in, right? What are the sacrifices you're willing to make? Like, what's the opportunity cost if I go out to a club on Saturday? Like, will I miss out on getting some stuff done Saturday night, right? Or will I be hungover the next day and not get as much done as I need to?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you have to be your own guide in realizing like what is important right now, what do I need to do, versus I can allow myself some time off.
Seeing the big picture down the road versus like how you're actually getting there today.
Yeah, exactly.
And like there's always bumps along the road, but at the end, you have that goal in mind that you're still striving towards.
Yeah. Well, what about you? What would you say?
So my advice would be really just go for it. If you want to start a business or if you have an idea, you're never going to make it work if you don't actually just try. So my biggest advice is don't so much focus on the failure aspects of it, or like what could possibly go wrong. Although you do need to plan for some things, but really you just want to go, just get your feet wet, just go and see what you can do. And then as problems arise, you can always fix those. As you get more entrenched in your business and as your sales start growing or whatever you're doing, you have professionals that you can reach out to for advice. That's another thing I would say is really just talking to other small business owners.
Yeah.
Trying to seek out some real advice from someone who's already done it.
Yeah.
I think is a big thing I would tell new business owners.
That's great advice, and I think there's a lot of other local businesses that are more open to supporting other local businesses, so long as you just have that rapport and connection.
Yeah, and entrepreneurs love helping out other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, small businesses run the economy,
Yeah.
And actually, if I had to give a second piece of advice, because that just gave me the thought of, you always want to be networking, and it's not so much as like a a cold, robotic, like, hi, I'm Ash, but I mean, how do we meet? We were we were at Star Hill Beer Garden.
Yep. From Tyson's.
At Tyson's through our mutual friend Rudy. Shout out Rudy. And from there we just started nerding out about taxes and real estate.
And real estate, and we'd both just started, our small businesses in the past like year or so, I think, when we first met.
Yeah.
And so we were both like, oh, okay, like, what have you learned? Like, where have you gone with your business so far? So yeah, that's pretty funny. That's how we met, over some beers at Star Hill.
Yeah, and it's not like a formal networking event. It's just you're meeting
totally
people.
Random, and like our mutual friend, you wouldn't go there to see him either. It was just a random happenstance that we happened to be at the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny enough, at that same beer garden, we actually met another business owner, or someone who's working with a business owner.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny. You just never know who you're talking to. Just always network, always be polite, I guess, and doors will open for you.
Doors will open. Yeah, the doors that haven't closed on you, you still go for the ones that are open, and if they close, sucks. Move on to the next one if they're open and they let you go in.
There's a lot of doors.
There's a lot of
there.
doors, man. There's a lot of doors. I mean, and that's the other part of just being blessed in this area, is like you have a lot of people who are doing different things, like a variety of just innovative ideas, or just willingness to grow beyond what their current means are. And when you meet people with a similar appetite, you're all willing to do what it takes to just have a buffet. And that is what's going to keep fueling you and fueling others.
Oh yeah, 100%. So going forward, I'm sure you have a lot of goals for your business.
Yeah.
But where do you kind of see yourself a year or two from now with your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say a year or two from now, hoping rates are a little bit more in my favor as well. My goal is to have a more like steady business, working with multiple clients of different backgrounds, but also starting to get more on the advisory side as it gets into investment. So right now, people are looking for homes, right? And obviously they go in the lens of, I want something I could rent out. But there's some who are more strictly investment focused, right? So I want to continue supporting those who are looking to buy or sell their home, but those who are looking to invest in different areas, what are some of those key metrics they're looking for? So I really want to start angling towards there as well. The other goal is hiring people. I think with the rise of boutique brokerages and people working in different areas ever since the pandemic, I would love to have, a team that's working across different states, different hot markets, but really all with that same drive, right? It goes back to the casual networking, but you all have that same purpose of just building a business in different areas. So obviously shooting for the North Star,
of course.
How realistic that is, that's the fun of this business. Like, you can find out, so long as you're committed to it, you can make it happen. And I do have potential prospects in different states who are willing to fuel that side of the business, and I'm excited to see how that turns out.
Well, so much of it is just being in the right place at the right time, too.
Yeah.
So the only way you can really account for that is trying to be as like everywhere you can, trying to, do as much as you can.
Yeah. How about you? What would you say are your goals from 1 to 2 years from now?
My main goals for the next year to 2 years are really continue building out my website, creating, a marketing funnel, I'd call it. So, reaching out to clients that need my services, that I can help out. My main goal in all of this is really to help other business owners. I really just want to make a difference, make things easier for my clients. So I first and foremost, I want to find more clients in need, and then funnel them to my website to then, see the benefits that we can offer them. So that's what my main goal is, to build out my website, continue growing my client base, and eventually down the line hire some employees as well. And let's hope, as the business grows, we have more capacity to hire employees and everything. So yeah, things are looking up for sure.
I love it.
Expecting a nice 2 years.
Okay, I like it. One thing which we didn't get to, which I know we have to wrap up here soon, but one thing I want you to want to know is what is the biggest problem that you're facing in your business today? Because within the accounting side, there's different cyclicals, especially with the businesses you work with, right? So what would you say is the biggest challenge?
The biggest problem for accountants is Congress.
Congress.
Really though, it's just it's all the tax laws. Just staying up with all the tax laws that tend to come out.
Yeah.
Things change all the time. One thing, for example, I'm sure you've heard, throughout the years, like, oh, you can write off your G-Wagon because it's over 6,000 pounds, right? I'm sure you've probably heard that in Instagram Reel at some point. That's no longer totally true. They actually reduce that deduction now. Instead of 100% write-off, it's 80%. So staying up to date with stuff like that, I feel like is the biggest challenge in my business. Helping out my clients and all that, that's the fun side for me. So I wouldn't even consider that too challenging. It's really just staying up to date with all the government regulations. Speaking of that, if you are a small business owner, there is actually something I wanted to mention. So it's called FinCEN. It's the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. They're requiring all small business owners to register with FinCEN in 2024. So stuff like that, stuff is always changing in the tax and business world. So if you're a small business owner, just know it should be fairly easy. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But yeah, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network is requiring all small business owners to register with them this upcoming year.
That's good to know. I'm glad we're gonna talk about this later.
Yeah.
I know we're coming up at time, so Nick, I know you have a wealth of information, and this conversation's been amazing. How can people find you? Like whether it's on Instagram or email, website, lay it all out for those so they can contact you if they have any questions.
So you can find me on either Instagram or at my website. My website is Alps, ALPS, bookkeeping.com. My Instagram is Nick_Merill, MERRILL. You might even be watching that from that Instagram handle right now. So
there we go. And Nick, it's like NICK, not NIK, none of the weird Nicks, right?
Underscore.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, cool. Nick, thanks for taking the time. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. Long overdue.
For sure.
And who knows, we'll probably have a second part of this and just get into the nitty gritty of some of the business tax laws that are happening.
Yeah.
But thank you all for tuning in. We will catch you on the next one.